Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Notes and Quotes podcast. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. It's just such a pleasure to have you join the community and listen to me ramble. I'm so excited. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the psychological turmoil of your 20s. Now, I feel like this should be pretty relatable for most people. Even if you're not in your 20s and you've already gone through it, even if you are in your 20s and you're currently going through it, or if you're not yet in your 20s and you're anticipating it and you can see all the pressure there is, I think anyone can relate to this topic. Because your 20s are an extremely tumultuous time where everybody is putting a lot of pressure on you for different things, including yourself putting pressure on you. And then you also at the same time feel like you should take a chill pill because you're still young, but at the same time you're getting old and you should get serious. But at the same time, this is like the best years of your life apparently, so you should live it up. And it's just psychological warfare. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. The pressures of that, how to balance it, how to deal with it, and hopefully you'll find this at least a little bit relatable, and maybe I can give you some tips to help from another 22-year-old who is going through the psychological turmoil of your 20s. So today's quote of the day. So with every episode, if you're new, we start off with a quote of the day to basically form the foundation of the conversation. So this quote is actually generated technically by me, but which is new because I usually do quotes from other people or from, experts or something, or from a guest. But today I have a quote that I technically generated, but it's also generated by society, social media, family, peers, everyone has technically generated this quote. And I've just kind of put it all together. Anyway, I'm going to shut up and just read it. In your 20s, you should travel the world, invest in stocks, not worry about money, find the love of your life, date around, stay single, move out, move abroad, live with your parents as long as you can, climb the corporate ladder, work out and eat right, eat junk while you still can, find lifelong friends, do things alone, be the main character, not care about the future, focus only on the future, take pictures of everything, live in the moment away from your phone. You've only got your 20s once. Now, I made this quote based on things that I have heard throughout my years in my 20s. And mind you, I'm only 22, guys. I turned 23 this year, but yeah, I'm only 22. I'm a baby in my 20s, and I've been hearing every single one of these things I just said and more consistently. It's like everyone just keeps drilling all these things into you. There's a million different videos on social media. People are telling you these things all the time. Your family's telling you these things. You're comparing yourself to everyone around you, and it's just overwhelming because it's like all contradictory, and I just don't know what I should be doing. So today I'm going to start off by talking about where these pressures come from. So first, we get these pressures from one, shocker, society. There's this narrative that you have to be successful by the time you hit 30. And people might not be outright saying, oh, you've only got 10 years, you've only got a certain amount of time before you're 30 and you got to have it all figured out. No one's technically saying that because, if you say that out loud, it sounds a bit ridiculous. But they're saying it in an inadvertent way where it's like, you only have so much time before you're 30. And then when you hit 30, it's like, well, your 20s are gone. You better not have wasted them. So there's this like unspoken timeline where you have to typically get a degree, land your dream job, find the love of your life, maybe buy a house, maybe start a family because, the clock is ticking and all that. All before 30. And then at the same time, when you hit 30, you need to have all of these amazing stories of what you did in your 20s, your crazy, wild, life-loving 20s. And it's just the most unrealistic thing. And you have this intense pressure to just be something and discover yourself and figure out everything about your life. Like, people say that your 20s are for finding yourself, which in a way is true because I feel like 22-year-old me and 20-year-old me, or even 21-year-old me, are not the same person. But then at the same time, I don't think that's only in your 20s. I've always felt like I've been changing and growing. And I think you still do that after 30 as well. So I don't know why there's so much heavy emphasis on your 20s. I guess I get it in a way because it's the first time that you're in adulthood. It's the first time that you've now entered the world not as a kid, and you have a lot more freedom, you have a lot more autonomy and independence, but you're still just figuring it out because you're not really a fresh you're a fresh adult. You're not like a fully formed adult as yet. And so I guess that's why there's so much emphasis on, the period of your 20s and figuring it all out. But still, I just feel like, why are we trying so hard to have this big, like, coming of age experience in our 20s that has to fit like a picture perfect book of what it should look like, you know? And it also coincides with this phenomenon that I've been hearing about a lot, the quarter life crisis, because everyone knows about the midlife crisis, where, you're in your mid years, maybe like 40s or something, and you start feeling like, oh my gosh, I need to do something big with my life. Like I need to do some major thing. And some people go like buy a boat or go to, some random country on some big live, laugh, love experience. But the quarter life crisis is kind of akin to that, where you are just doing everything. You're traveling the world, you're living in hostels, you're moving abroad just cause, you're quitting your job and starting something new just cause, which is great. And if that's something you want to do, then fine. But I feel like there's a pressure on everyone to have a quarter life crisis, and there's a pressure on everyone to be doing crazy things in their 20s, or else you're not living. And I really resent that because personally, I have a very small social battery. Let's start there. My social battery is like, I don't know, maybe the size in, actual size of my phone. Like I have what phone do I have? I think I have an iPhone 15. I might be wrong about that. But if you're watching on YouTube, this is the size of my phone. And I feel like my social battery is about this much and it goes down really fast. So for example, if I go out to an event one day and it's like a super fun event, it lasts, let's say, 6 hours of my day. That's going to be great. That's going to be fun. When it's done, I don't think I can do anything for the rest of the day. And if I have an event or an activity or something, or I hang out with people for an entire day, I need the next day to just rest and recover. And even when I'm traveling, I remember I traveled with my mom to New York and we had to share a room. So I had basically no privacy at all because we were in just one room. We were always together. I nearly lost my mind. My social battery was a wreck because I never had my alone time. My alone time is so important to me. So the idea of, and I also, just routine is really important to me too. So I like to have the peacefulness of being in my own space and having access to all of my regular things and being able to wake up in the morning and know my routine and ease into the day and live life at my own pace. So if I'm going crazy and doing all these amazing things like traveling the world every 5 seconds and, not having much of a routine, it messes with me and it messes with my mental well-being. But everyone tells me that I should be doing more and that I should be, being more spontaneous and stuff. And in some ways it's true, like sometimes I can be a bit boring. But I still really am happy with the routine and life that I live. So I kind of resent the idea that, you just waking up in the morning and doing your regular stuff and going on walks and going and reading books and like going to an event maybe once or twice, if it's a really good week, twice a week is not enough. Like you should be doing more, you should be exploring more and doing stuff. I just want to live. I just want to live in the way that I want to live. I don't need to be living and doing all of these incredible things that you guys are doing. That's great that you're doing them. But let me be. I don't need to have a massive quarter life crisis. I feel like if I'm happy with what I've got, then that's fine. And my life is still, I'm not wasting my 20s is what I'm saying. Because I feel like people make it seem like you're wasting your 20s if you're not doing all of these spontaneous activities. Okay, so that's society. That's the pressure that I feel like comes from society. And then it also comes from your parents and your family. I spoke about this in a previous episode, but I'm going to bring it back up again. The whole generational disconnect. Our parents and our grandparents and anyone that's older than us really lived in a different generation growing up, obviously. But that means that they didn't have the same economic crises that we're experiencing or cost of living crises that we're experiencing. They didn't grow up with the same struggles, or they didn't grow up with the same just context of life. They had their own struggles, they had their own things, and they had their own life context. And that's what they're going based off of to explain life to us. And that's why there's that disconnect a lot of the time, and we don't agree with our parents. And sometimes our parents' advice and things that they did as a kid are not going to translate to us now. So, for example, the age-old term that I hear from parents all the time: at your age, I already did insert whatever. At your age, I was doing this. So, for example, at your age, I was already married. I already had a house and kids. I already had like a full-time job, and I was getting promoted and stuff like that. Not at 22. I don't know. My parents didn't say they did that at 22. Actually, at 22, I think my dad had started his own business. And at 22, my mom was doing her master's. So both of them were probably already doing more than I am right now. And it's not that they put pressure on me. They don't put pressure on me in terms of this. They're more of the put pressure on me to be quote unquote living my life more. And you know what? Maybe I am a hermit crab. Maybe I am. But I feel like I'm fine with that. Anyway, we're not going back over that again. The point is, it's not that easy for us to go and just start our lives. I know people who are in their late 20s still living with their parents, and it's completely fine, because moving out is not as easy as it once was. Moving out is actually so difficult now. The cost of rent, literally wherever you are, I feel like now, it used to just be big cities, but now the cost of rent everywhere is crazy. The cost of living in general is crazy. And to buy a house, oh my gosh, that's insane. And with the advent of, online dating and just speed dating culture, I feel like we now see everyone as kind of disposable. So relationships kind of tend to be a lot more fleeting than I think they once were. I have a feeling, and I'm saying this with a grain of salt, I've done zero research, but I have a feeling that relationships back in the day used to last longer than they do now. A lot of people, I think, run through relationships really quickly. Some of them don't even get into relationships. I think the growth of situationships has been massive, and now people just think that you can always upgrade, and that's the issue. So finding the love of your life is not as straightforward anymore, because I think now with social media relationships and the social media standards of relationships and all of these different things that people think their partner needs to meet, it's now so much more difficult to find the quote unquote love of your life and be satisfied with what you have, because everyone is seen as disposable now, especially with apps like, Hinge, Tinder, Bumble. And yes, those are great. I've even been on them before. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. But I think just as much as they're great for helping you find people, they're also bad in the sense that they give you a mentality that you can always get better, you can always change, and it makes you a little bit more heartless, I feel, and a lot more judgy. I found that within myself. I'm even going to admit it. Like, before I was on the dating apps, and I'm off now, but before I was on the dating apps, I was like, oof, I'm going to just treasure whoever I get. And, I wasn't as judgy. And then when I got on the dating apps, I became such a judgy person. I was scrutinizing people's profiles. If I found even the inkling of a single baby red flag, I used to blow that out of proportion and be like, oh, nope, next, swipe. Let's move on to the next candidate. And then I saw something that literally I came across in just random Google searches. Because sometimes how you go down a Googling rabbit hole of stuff. I came across a random article that was like, what did it say? And it's going to be impossible for me to find this article, I promise you, because I'm paraphrasing it. But it was something along the lines of, you're never actually getting somebody 100% better than the person you had. You're just kind of trading in for something else. So for example, if you had somebody who was a really 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 good communicator, but they didn't really take charge in life, like they were a bit more timid and shy, maybe they weren't that great in bed or something, and now you go with somebody else who has those qualities, like, they're really good in bed, they take charge, they're more confident and more front leading, I suppose. You might be trading in for not as good a communicator. So if you see what I mean, you're never going to find somebody that's 100% perfect. You're always going to be trading in for some other traits. So you have to find like your perfect little mix of what is the perfectly imperfect. So are you okay with somebody who is a really great communicator, but maybe they have a couple insecurities that they need to deal with? Maybe they're not that perfect. Or some other traits. I'm literally blanking on any other human traits right now. But if you get what I mean. I'm not really sure how we got on the relationship tangent, but yes, the generational disconnect that you feel with parents and family, because their advice just comes from a different time where getting jobs, having stability in general, housing, everything was a lot more affordable, and success was much more of a linear process where you just go to school, get the best education possible, get a good job, have a good life. It's not like that anymore at all. It's much murkier waters now. And that's a good thing, but it also leads for a lot of insecurity and uncertainty for our generation, because we've never actually lived in a time where there's this many opportunities for everyone and the paths are all diverged. Like nobody really knows what they're doing now. So, yeah. And then there's social media. Of course, everyone knows that social media is a bit shit. But we are still all obsessed with social media. But there's the illusion that social media gives us, especially to people in their 20s, of overnight success and of all the things that you should be doing right now in your 20s. So we now have a situation where we can go on TikTok, we can go on Instagram, we can go on YouTube, we can go on the dreaded LinkedIn and look at people who are doing incredible things with their lives. People who are much younger than us, people who have less education than us, less resources than us, and they're doing incredible things. We even have kids who are like 9 years old and they're millionaires, and they're traveling the world and, getting sponsored by major companies and doing great things. And you're sitting at home in your pajamas, in your holy socks, in bed, scrolling through and watching these people. And it feels good in the moment and stuff, but then afterwards you look in the mirror, or you just kind of lay back in bed and stare at your wall, and you're just back in your own life and you're thinking, okay, I need to get my shit together because I'm not actually doing anything. And that's what it feels like. But in reality, that's probably not true. And if you are actually not doing anything, then it's so much harder to start doing something, or so much harder to try and get your life together, because you feel like there's so much pressure to meet a certain threshold that you've been seeing online. Not necessarily millionaires or anything, but people who might appear to be at your level, who are doing the same things as you, who are even expressing their own struggles and stuff, but they still seem a little bit better and farther than you. Because we just can so much easier, it's so much easier. Oh my gosh. It's so much easier to compare yourself to people nowadays because of social media and make it feel like you're not actually doing enough. Because we have curated highlight reels. We have even people who are showing their behind the scenes struggles. Their behind the scenes struggles sometimes even look better than our real struggles. But even those are curated too, guys. The behind the scenes struggles are curated too. Nothing on social media is really real. But anyway, I just feel like because this is the era that we live in, it creates such mental warfare for people, because they're now wondering, wait, where am I actually supposed to be? And if I, by some miracle, know what I want to be for the rest of my life, how am I supposed to go about getting there when there's so many different other avenues for me to get there? And then, wait, am I wasting my 20s by thinking about my career so much? Maybe I should just be, not giving a fuck and living my life, and who cares about financial savvy and stuff? Like, who cares? That's for my 30s. Maybe I should just be doing whatever it is I want to do. But what do I want to do? So then it just starts like a spiral. At least this is what happens in my head every single day of my life. Because sometimes I think to myself, okay, you're working too hard. Oh, but you're not actually working enough because you're not growing as fast as you thought you were going to be. Or maybe this is actually not what I want to do. Maybe I actually got the wrong degree. Maybe I should be getting another degree. No, maybe I should be getting work experience. Oh, actually, I don't think I'm getting the right work experience. Maybe I should be doing something else. Maybe I'm working too hard and I should just travel the world. And it goes back to that same quote that I did at the beginning of this episode, where it's like all of these different things and criterias that you feel like you should be having to meet because social media, parents and family, society, even the people that are in your own close circle are doing incredible things, and you're wondering, what am I supposed to actually be doing right now? And when I was thinking about all of this, well, I think about this all the time, but every single time I think about this now, I try to remind myself of this beautiful quote that somebody said under one of those 20s reels that you see on Instagram sometimes, like, you're in your 20s. You don't need to be worrying about all these things. You should be traveling the world. You should be doing all the, those videos I'm talking about. I saw somebody comment under one of these videos, and it just simply said, in the simplest words, your 20s are your 20s. The second you're in all caps, your 20s are your 20s. And I read that about 50 times. And I was like, you know what? Fuck. Yes, she's right. Your 20s, my 20s are my 20s. Your 20s are your 20s. You do not have to be meeting any certain criteria. You can do whatever the hell you want in your 20s. This decade of your life is yours. You don't need to be looking for validation about what you should be doing from anyone but yourself. And yes, there's still all that uncertainty in your head. It's still in mine all the time. But it's for me to go through that uncertainty and start trying little things that I'm comfortable with, and seeing if it sticks, seeing if it's something that I like. And if it's not something I like, I can change my path. And if I'm not living up to the life that other people think I should be living, well, screw them. They can do what they want in their 20s. These 20s are my 20s. So if I want to spend my 20s working my ass off and building a foundation for success, or if I want to spend my 20s traveling the world and not worrying about how much money is in my account, or if I want to spend my 20s working towards moving out and studying and getting, greater education, that's fine. And if I want to spend my 20s not knowing what the fuck I want to do and literally just trotting about the place, trying a bunch of different things until I figure something out, that is fine, because it's my 20s. I don't need to pick which road. And also, by the way, those aren't the only roads. Those 4 roads that I said just now are not the only roads. Those are just the ones that came into my head just now. But your 20s are your 20s, so you can do whatever the fuck you want to do with your 20s. And I feel like that ended the entire turmoil for me. I am still uncertain. I still go through psychological stress in this time. I feel like I'll go through psychological stress for my entire life, to be fair. As an anxious person, I probably will. But that helped calm some of it in my head, so that every single time now that I see those videos online telling me all of the stuff that I should be doing in my 20s and that I shouldn't be doing in my 20s, and the 10 things I wish I could tell my younger self in my 20s. Shut up. Let me just do what I want to do in my 20s. And I don't need to listen to you. I don't need to worry about you. I don't need to worry about what my friends are doing, if they're having kids, if they're getting mortgages, if they're doing their master's and their PhD, if they're getting promotions at work, if they're finding the love of their life and getting married. That's great for them. I celebrate you. Have fun in your 20s. I'm going to stay in mine and do what's comfortable for me. And if what I want hasn't actually manifested itself yet, like if I haven't achieved what I wanted to achieve yet, then fine. Okay, we're working to it. I've got my whole life to actually achieve what I want to achieve. I don't need to achieve it right now. And I wrote that down somewhere the other day when I was having the worst anxious day. I was so anxious about everything because I was anxious about money this month because I had to pull money from my savings, because I had to empty my account, because I had all these emergency expenses, and I was so stressed. And I was like, you know what? This is okay. I'm fine. I've still got a roof over my head. I'm still okay. I live with my parents. I don't have to pay for groceries. I'm okay. I've still got my entire life to do what I want to do. I've still got my entire life to meet my financial goals. I'm going to be fine. And I have to remind myself of that, which is why I wrote it down. So yeah, that was my ramble for today, guys. I hope it helped you in some way. And if it hasn't, that's okay. Please, actually, if it hasn't helped you, or even if it has helped you, which I would love, please go try to fill out the listener survey. We have a listener survey on our podcast in which it just takes like less than a minute to fill out, so I can know what to do to make this the best possible podcast for you. And that would really help me out. So thank you guys for listening. And I really hope that you at least mildly enjoyed my little rambles. And if you did, then I'll see you again next Tuesday, or you can listen to one of the episodes we have. I think we've got about over 30 episodes out now, which is psychotic. I think that's so weird. I feel like I started the podcast yesterday and now it's like 30 episodes. But thank you guys for supporting. Thank you for listening. And I'll see you again next Tuesday. And I'm going to shut up and let you get rest. I'm going to shut up and let you get back to the rest of your day. Okay. Bye. Love ya.